Big Macintosh surveyed the many apple trees that made up Sweet Apple Acres. It was nearly apple buck season once again, and it looked as though they would be having a bumper harvest this year. He nodded, satisfied. His sister Applejack walked up beside him. "Ooh, boy, howdy, I sure am glad you ain't injured this time, Big Macintosh," she said. "Why, there's even more apples on them trees than last year." "Yep," Big Macintosh replied in his characteristic manner. "Lamb's a lot of apples." Applejack was silent for a moment, enjoying the feel of a slight breeze against her blonde mane. "Say, I don't suppose you seen Apple Bloom anywhere, have you? I've been looking for her all day and she ain't nowhere to be found." Big Macintosh shook his head. "Sorry, sis, can't say I have. Darn, that silly Phyllis probably gone off somewhere with her friends. Just hope she ain't getting herself in any mischief, for there'll be hay to pay. Oh, Jesus. Don't go worrying yourself, Applejack," he replied. "I'm sure she's perfectly fine. But anyway, I need to go back to the barn. I gotta go and press some alright, I'm gonna stop this accent. Press some apples for some of my home-brewed apple cider. I have picked a few apples earlier especially, all nice and plump and ripe. They ain't got pressed themselves." Applejack laughed. "You sure do love your cider, don't you? Just make sure Apple Bloom don't get her hooves on it again. We all know what happened last time." Big Macintosh chuckled along with his sister. "Yup." A large red pony trotted back to the barn and gently closed the door. He opened the trapdoor with his mouth and went down the steps of an old, apple cellar. Usually it was just filled with junk, scrap metal, old worn-out plows, old ropes, and various other bits and bobs that had outlived their usefulness. Big Macintosh often came down here when he wanted to get away from the world, to withdraw for a little while for some peace and quiet and take a drink.
I don't want to relive this. Please stop.
Charlie, shut the fuck up.
I'm sorry, Charlie. It has to happen.
Oh shit.
Yeah, today was different, however. The old rope, at least, had found a new use, because in cellar space were Apple Bloom and her fellow Cutie Mark Crusaders, Sweetie Belle and Scootaloo, bound and gagged, propped up against the wall. 3 pairs of scared round eyes looked up at Big Macintosh as he approached. "Now then, you 3 fillies," he said, as placid as ever, "y'all need to learn a lesson. You need not mess around with Big Macintosh. All I want is some peace and quiet." I have a feeling it's going to be worse than the last one," he said, looking directly at Apple Bloom. The little red-haired filly cowered under his gaze. "All I want is a quiet life, without all you Cutie Mark Crusaders running around the place making with the noise. When I'm finished with y'all, there'll be no noise from you ever again." As Big Macintosh approached, Scootaloo flapped her wings, struggling to get off the ground. Big Macintosh laughed and grabbed one of her wings. He twisted, at first slow, watching the pain visibly grow in her eyes, but then to her hard, smiling slightly when he never heard the snap of the muffled whimper that came from Scootaloo. He then threw her to the ground. "Your wings are useless, you silly filly," he said pleasantly. He then went to a toolbox and took out a rusty knife with a jagged blade and dropped it in front of the 3 fillies. "I'm gonna take off those gags now," he said. "The first one of you to scream gets their tongues cut out." Ooh, that's a good one. He took off Sweetie Belle's gag first. She looked up at him with terror, but managed to stay quiet. Next was Scootaloo. She let out a strange, strangled whine, and was breathing heavily, stood in horrendous pain from her broken wing, but managed to resist the temptation. Finally, he removed the gag from his sister, Apple Bloom. His sister? Oh my god. She stared at him with her large round eyes, filled with fear and incomprehension. This was Big Macintosh, after all, her big brother and the gentlest of souls. Wasn't he? Sure, this was just a horrible joke, but she had seen what he had done to Scootaloo's wing, and it was definitely no joke. She took a deep breath. "Applejack!" Big Macintosh shoved his hoof in Apple Bloom's mouth, silencing her scream. He sighed and shook his head. "I told you not to scream, Apple Bloom. You should listen to your big brother. Take another drink." Hello?
You should record audiobooks.
I'm taking a drink. I'm mouth is a little parched. I'll scream and scream again, and Applejack will hear," and Apple Bloom said, faltering. "You know, I kind of hope you do. After all, I still ain't forgiven Applejack for the injury she gave me last apple buck season. If you want Applejack to join y'all down here, scream away. I, for one, would welcome her company. But now to business." Big Macintosh picked up the knife and loomed over to the cowering Apple Bloom. He pinned her down with a powerful hoof and stuck the knife into Apple Bloom's mouth. Sweetie Belle vomited at the sight. The thick yellow chunks. Alright, really? You had to. Acidic-smelling liquid spattering heavily on the floor. Scootaloo managed not to be sick, but rather gasped and sobbed and choked with panic. Big Macintosh forced open Apple Bloom's mouth and with some effort cut out her tongue. Apple Bloom tried to scream, but her mouth was too full of blood, so it was more of a muted gurgle. After a short while she collapsed, tears streaming from her eyes, falling unconscious from the shock and the pain. Big Macintosh then took the tongue and rolled it into the puddle of putrid vomit on the floor. He smiled at Scootaloo. "You hungry?" Scootaloo shook her head vigorously and cast him a defiant glance. "If Rainbow Dash was here, she would kick the crap out of you, you maniac." "Really? That's what she said?" Okay. Big Macintosh shrugged. "Well, she ain't. And anyway, I wouldn't be so sure about that. Rainbow Dash ain't as tough as she likes to make out, as we learned." He shoved the vomit-covered tongue into Scootaloo's mouth and used his hoof to clamp her mouth shut. "Don't you go trying to spit it out now," he said calmly with a little laugh, and the filly struggled and squirmed. "Didn't your mother ever tell you how important it is to chew your food?" Scootaloo closed her eyes and flapped her one good wing desperately, eventually swallowing Apple Bloom's tongue. Big Macintosh, still holding Scootaloo down with his strong hooves, then mounted the... Okay, nope, no, skipping that one.
Worse.
That,
No.
alright, no, I have to skip that part.
What part?
He mounts her.
Read it.
Yeah,
He
he
m-
mounts
read
her.
it.
He mounts her.
Just
Read it.
Read it.
Okay.
Don't even think
Read
about
it.
it. Just read it.
No, I can't, no.
Read it.
Bloom,
Yes,
no.
read it.
Please,
Alright,
read
imagine it.
No,
Imagine-
read it.
You
No.
have to read it.
I'm not
You
reading
have
it.
to
You
read
gotta
out
read
important
it.
details
No.
here.
You have to
That's
draw
the
the
whole
line
point.
somewhere.
No,
What's
there's
that?
no
Read
line.
it. You want a demotion?
He took
This isn't
advantage
where
of
you're
it.
gonna
draw
I'm
the
not
line.
reading it.
You're
You
gonna
wanna
draw
do-
the line when they start raping little ponies, okay?
Yeah, I know.
Yes,
That's
that's
when
where
you
I
draw
draw
the
the line.
line.
That's
No,
where I
Add
draw...
in your
no, that is
premiere.
not the line.
Remove.
What? No, alright.
Read it.
No, I can't read
Do you
this.
want a demotion?
I refuse.
I'm about to click it.
I refuse.
Demote him.
Correct.
Demote him.
Alright, whatever. I'll just tell Raven to give it back. Apple Bloom.
Cad forever.
Apple Bloom was still out cold, blood
User
pouring
in your
from
channel is recording.
her torn up mouth. Cutie Mark Crusade. Oh, rape victims. Big Macintosh said with tender mockery. as
User
he-
left your channel.
Oh God. Okay. All right. Okay. This whole thing is just basically he's raping them.
Okay.
Told you to read
You're-
Massacre instead.
No. Sweet up Massacre.
Proceed.
Massacre is better.
Oh God. Do I have to continue this?
Yeah, you don't have to. You can read Rainbow Factory
Proceed.
instead.
No, read this one.
No, I really can't.
Why not?
All right. Please give me. All right. You gave my super group back. All right. I'll read Sweet Apple Mess or whatever Rainbow Factory.
Is that
God, that one was horrible. Alright, this one doesn't have any